We got Gators Breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Here we are, fall camp coming to a close. We're going to kind of put a bow on a lot of the player interviews that I haven't got to yet, focusing on the defensive side of the football. Defensive lineman Joey Slackman, who I know everybody's kind of come to love in the last week or so, the hype man for defense. And also we'll go to the linebacker spot, Shemar James, Derek Wingo. We'll hear from those two guys. And like I said, kind of defensive focused episode here to close us out on fall camp. Billy Napier did say they would turn the page to Miami on Thursday of this week. We're recording right here on Wednesday, live for the first time in a while. I know with a lot of these interviews, it's kind of a whole lot easier to put these together post-production. But wanted to come at you live, guys, right here with fall camp come to a close, bringing these sound bites. But also, hey, we'll wrap it up. Let's do a Q&A toward the end of this. I don't know how long that will go, but some of that would depend on you guys out there as we're live. I know there wasn't much heads up for this kind of episode, but something I just kind of wanted to do. So it may go well, it may not go well because of the lack of heads up by me, poor planning by me, I know. But we'll get to it. I'll come back around toward the end of the episode after we hear from the players to get your guys' thoughts on fall camp so far, your questions heading in to the game prep week against Miami. So I think plenty to get into as fall camp comes to a close. You guys see it. If you're watching YouTube, wearing the new Jordan polo, and I got a partnership with Fanatics. Link is in the description, guys. But man, I am loving the Jordan gear this year. I think they knocked it out of the park. Right now at Fanatics, you can get free shipping. So get prepped for the season with all this great looking Jordan gear, the Nike gear, the new Nike shoes, of course, the hats, the jackets, the polos, the t-shirts. I think they've knocked it out of the park this year with the Gators merch. So link is in the description. You can support Gators Breakdown at the same time as getting you some Florida Gator merch. And as I said, free shipping right now. A lot of times, at least once a week, Fanatics is doing about a 25% off sale as well. So keep your eyes on that. But equals about the same with the free shipping sometimes. If you're in Florida, I'm in Jacksonville, and stuff gets to me in just a couple of days. So I think if you're in the state of Florida, you'll be pretty safe in getting it before the first game against Miami. So whether you're going to Gainesville, whether you're celebrating watching the game at home, get you some new gear there at Fanatics. Link is in the description. And of course, another link in the description is Gators Breakdown Plus. Get access to that Discord server, ad-free episodes, all that good stuff at Gators Breakdown Plus. One more time, link is in the description right there to join in another way to support Gators Breakdown. Getting ready for the season there. But yeah, loving the new polo. But like I said, that Jordan gear, man, they knocked it out of the park this year. It's been kind of questionable with the Jordan gear in some of the last couple of years, but not this year. Not this year. I like it. I like it a lot. I've spent too much money, by the way. So, hey, that's what football season brings us. Also, you got to get out the wallet a little bit. So, hey, but I'm trying to help you guys. I post deals on Twitter all the time as well. They're Fanatics, so it's I think they're doing a pretty good job there. All right, so let's get to it. We're going to focus on the defense here, this episode of Gators Breakdown. And let's start with Joey Slackman. Of course, he spoke to the media last week. First time we've gotten to hear from the transfer from Penn, the Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year last year. Florida needed to go get a defensive lineman in the transfer portal. They did so, providing some depth there. Maybe now even more so important with Jamari Lyons going down. Let's hear from Joey Slackman, who, he's at an interesting point in his career coming to Florida, playing in the SEC.
My story is pretty out there now. I started off my career as an individual athlete in the wrestling team at Penn, and I made that switch in my career, searching for the team aspect, because throughout my athletic career so far, I haven't really had that team championship kind of experience. And in that kind of environment, you need to bring energy as a group. Obviously, it's not an individual sport, and any one player can't really win a game for you. So I think that's kind of what draws me to it. I feed off my teammates too, so That's kind of where it comes from. I don't think it all comes from the smelling salt. So.
How much does your background as a wrestler help you defensive line run leverages?
Yeah. I mean, I've been asked that question a lot. I mean, it helps me immensely. I think gives me an advantage just because the basis of wrestling, especially as a heavyweight, is pummeling and getting inside hand control. As a defensive lineman, that's what I have to do pretty much every play, whether it be a run play or pass rush. That's kind of what my job is. So it gives me a leg up and it helped me kind of transition fast in the middle of my college career when I transitioned to football from wrestling.
You're coming off a really successful season last year. What was it like coming here? Sure, the guys are a little bigger. I know for your offensive line, it's probably a little bigger here than you saw in the Ivy League. But what was it like just to maybe jump in competition?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough at first. Going to a new place from your previous school is going to be difficult at any level. But I've always kind of stuck to my guns and just said that football's football. Obviously, the transition was difficult. Just the players are better all around. But I think I've transitioned pretty well, and I've gotten better each day, and they help me.
How do you view this opportunity, like being in the SEC and this schedule that's coming up, and 8 top 25 teams, it's going to be a very high profile season for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why I came here. My whole life has really been about challenges, and this has been my biggest one yet, and I can't wait for it. I think that's really the emphasis on our team is that we accept that. Coach Nape always talks about running to the adversity every day after practice, and I feel like I embody that, and that's the reason why I came here. Is I wanted to go against the best. I wanted to prove myself every week, and that's what we want as a team.
Yeah, how is that competition and camaraderie going with maybe some of the other tackles on the team? Because you're obviously in there with 2 returning starters. You got Caleb Banks and. Yeah,
I mean we don't really look at it as anything other than we're getting each other better. Iron sharpens iron, I mean that's kind of how Coach Chapman worked our room from the very beginning, and he talks about brotherhood all the time. Our motto in our room is relentless, tough, and disciplined, and I think we all embody that as a group, and we're all working to make each other better.
So you've never been the mentality or how tough it was to see Shemar go down. How did you guys bounce back, finish the scrimmage, and now how do you kind of pick him up and fill in that void?
Yeah, I mean Shemar is the heartbeat of our room, and it was a tough day, but kind of the message that we gave to each other after he went down was like he's always going to bring 100% every day no matter what. That's who he is as a person, and we're grateful for him in that regard. And when he went down, we just tried to embody everything that he was about as a player. And I thought we did a good job of bouncing back and being there for him, especially on the field. I mean, he's like I said, he's the heartbeat of our room, and we're doing everything we can for him.
All right, there we go. Hearing from Joey Slackman. Everybody hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so to Gators Breakdown as we close fall camp right here. And we'll go back to a comment from Muddy Waters here. Hey, we get to do this when we're live. I should go live more. I know. We do during the season. But Muddy Waters does say, when I left the spring game, I ran into Joey Slackman. Man, he is motivated. I simply asked him, are you ready for the SEC? And he stated dramatically at me, or stated dramatically at me and said slowly, it can't come fast enough. And you kind of heard that same message to Joey Slackman right there in front of the media. So certainly he's at an interesting point in his career, and, I think we can ask ourselves, what can we expect? While he's one of the best defensive linemen in the Ivy League level, still doesn't have a ton of college football experience, and now comes to the SEC. So I think it's fair to ask the question on both sides. Has he even reached his potential yet? And how high is his ceiling, since he doesn't, he took some years off of college football. He said he played high school football, took some years off. Of course, he went to wrestling, returned to football at the college level, played a couple of years, Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year. So has he even reached his potential yet? Or does the jump in competition hold him back? I think you get a pretty good sense of in spring and fall camp. I certainly don't think he's going to be held back. I think we kind of would have heard that by now if Joey Slackman's overmatched. And look, you're going to get your own team, of course, and Florida will be going up against some really good offensive lines this year. But at the same time, we would have a pretty good indication by now if Joey Slackman's not ready to go play and be a contributor for this Florida Gator defense. So I don't think he's going to be held back because of competition. Now, level of it, we'll see, but he's going to contribute a lot for this Florida Gator defense. We would have already gotten word if it was going to be pretty bad. So Joey Slackman's going to be a pretty good player, in my opinion, there for the Gators. So it's just how much of a jump can he make? And is there an even bigger ceiling given his lack of college football playing experience? How he'll be used is maybe a little different than what we thought coming in with Jamari Lyons going down. And I'll go to Muddy Waters again because he does bring up a question, and that's what we're going to do here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. Dave, with the Lyons injury, what is your guess on the rotation numbers throughout the defensive line? Numbers is hard, and I think that's going to depend a lot on Des Watson. He's had 2 good scrimmages when Lyons went down, the one Lyons went down in, and last week's scrimmage. Des Watson has stepped up. He is a guy I have heard in both scrimmages really stepping up, getting in the backfield, getting some tackles for loss. It's going to be Cam Jackson, of course, and like I said, I thought he was going to split a good bit of time with Jamari Lyons. Just to keep those guys fresh. I do think Jackson will probably play a little more snaps than planned coming into the fall. Des Watson comes. But now I think what happens behind those guys, I don't think you want to rely on true freshmen. Is Brian Taylor ready? I think Caleb Banks, Joey Slackman are both guys that can slide in need be. Third down plays, obvious passing plays. I think it would probably be more Joey Slackman sliding over more so than Caleb Banks. I think they really like Caleb Banks at defensive end. But I do think both. We'll get some roles there. We'll get some plays there. So as far as number goes, I don't know. I think it will be mainly, I think, those 4 guys in the middle. And maybe one of those freshmen come up, but maybe more down the line of the season, maybe later in the season. You don't have to force those guys in just yet. This isn't Jervon Dexter in 2020 situation where you just don't have anybody in front of him. Jervon Dexter as a true freshman had to be thrown out there as a defensive in the middle of that defensive line. You're not in that situation just yet. So that's how I see it going there in the middle. But, the object remains the same for Joey Slackman, cause havoc up front. And one more time, a look back as to why he was a big pickup along this defensive line. Last season, he totaled 50 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, got that Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year honors. So hopefully that production translates. I'm not sure he replicates those numbers. That's a big ask in the jump of competition, but he's also got more help around him where he won't necessarily be on the field as much or may not be on the field as much to replicate those stats. But 6'4", 300 pounds. His presence has kind of already been felt as that, off the field as a hype guy. We're going to wait to see if that translates on the field as well. I certainly that front, the defensive line has missed that. I think that kind of maybe confidence plays into it a bit because the defense just hasn't been all that good. So maybe it makes sense not to have a hype guy, but you need that guy. And Joey Slackman seems to be that guy, certainly off the field already. We'll see what on the field, but in the locker room, in workouts, there's a fire that he provides. Florida needs that up front to help turn this defense around. So, look, whether it's because of him in the smelling salts or just his personality, he's intense. He brings the energy, and hopefully that's something that feeds the guys on defense. And certainly it's going to start with confidence, and that's going to come in spring. That's going to come in fall camp. You hope it translates. You don't know until you get punched in the mouth. We know we hear, and I really do believe this defense is going to be better. But at the same time, we got to see it. You're going to face some adversity. You can't fold. And maybe a guy like Joey Slackman up front, the leadership, the hype, the demands that he has on the other players, hopefully pays off there. Let me go through these questions. Robert M. says, I think Slackman is going to surprise a lot of people. We'll try and keep these on topic. Harrison Sanchez says, has Slackman lost some weight? I'm not sure about losing weight because I don't remember the exact numbers, but I do think maybe we should ask ourselves, did he lose fat, gain muscle? Like so many other players are talking about in that offensive line, the defensive, all around in the physical spots. Is he one of those guys? So I'd like to maybe there's some numbers on him somewhere. That's a good observation. We'll see. Okay. Boom, 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 and some spam in the chat, of course. All right, trying to keep it on. There we go. L. Wolf, we just need someone to take 20 to 25 snaps at nose tackle and maybe 2 other people to keep Dez down to 15 snaps. we'll see. What strength and conditioning can go a long way for Des Watson as well. It's just something I can't answer that question. We don't know how many snaps he can play yet. We really don't. Types of offenses are going to come into play as well. How much sideline to sideline is he doing? How much runs are right at him? I mean, each game, each opponent's going to be different. Certainly the opponents certainly know about Des Watson and maybe his snap count limitation. If he's on the field for the first play of a drive, do they run some hurry up to keep him on the field, keep going at him to wear him out? We'll see. We'll see what that means. Let's see. Yeah, there's some. All right, let's go. I gotta kick that one. See, look, there we go. When we get some live chats going, we gotta put some users in some timeouts here. I don't know what's happening, but that is now taken care of. The beauty of live production here. Robert Turner did say or ask, I just started watching. Did you mention Kelby being an interior lineman or he'd be an edge? He's going to be that defensive end like Caleb Banks, Joey Slackman, because how Florida does it, it's nose tackle, defensive end, edge F, edge jack. So kind of your four up front, but the Banks, Slackman, Collins is kind of your defensive end. I think he's still going to be mostly there. Maybe slides in as well in obvious passing situations at the same time as I mentioned Banks and Slackman, but mostly that defensive end role. But yeah, Muddy Waters does bring up. I haven't heard much about Kelby. I've heard his name's brought up and I go back to the beginning of fall camp. He's switching from edge to defensive end. So that is a progression for him in his second year. And I think he's going to be one of those players that get better week by week by week. And he can't apply so much that he did last year since he's switching positions, but I just think he's too talented. I think his talent's eventually going to show off, or going to break out. And that may allow Banks to slide inside more, may allow Slackman to slide in more. So I do think how fast Kelby Collins progresses could also be a huge factor in how to replace Jamari Lyons a bit. Okay. All right, let's keep it going. And I'll come back to some of these other comments. I see I did go to the return game in the last episode of Gators Breakdown. I'll come back around to that because I see a bunch of comments on that as well. But let's go to the linebacker spot as we continue this episode of Gators Breakdown. One more time, hit that like button, subscribe right here on Gators Breakdown. Shemar James and Derek Wingo. Let's go to those two guys. Some experience in that room with those two, of course. But let's hear from those two guys on the linebacker room and the defense overall. We're going to start with Shemar James, then you'll hear from Derek Wingo.
The next step is consistent. Like I said, consistency and finish. We've been a possession or two possessions away from winning big games. So, we're just trying to get that edge to us to be able to finish the big games.
What's the next helmet communication aspect of going for you guys?
One more time, I'm sorry.
In helmet communication aspect, how's that been going for you guys so far?
That has allowed us to play a little faster. Also get the coach's insight on things. Alert motions, alert pre-snap checks, pre-snap adjustments, and it also has allowed us to communicate a little better with the defense and also the back end.
So you obviously had to sit out the spring, recovering from the surgery. I mean, where are you right now physically? How are you feeling?
I'm 100%. I feel great. I'm ready to play on August 31st.
Yeah, how have you changed your body? I mean, you a pound lighter, but you look stronger in your uniform for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, sir. I say that's the Coach Miles and the rest of the strength staff. We worked each and every day, Monday through Sunday. I would say just working on our bodies, physically, mentally, and we've just been going at it. So thank you for that.
Well, yeah, you sit in your legs.
Yeah, appreciate you.
You can sit in your legs.
Yeah,
how much have you improved your squat and things?
It's been big jumps. Coming from the injury, I jumped right back in it like I was never hurt. So, like I said, that's a testament to our strength style.
The two freshmen, Miles and Aaron, how do you see them developing, and what kind of advice you're trying to give them along with it?
Oh yes, they're getting better each and every day. They're still trying to get a hold to it. But it's a grind. It's a day by day process, and I'm ready to see their growth.
Ron Roberts said that Aaron Childs has a chance to be an elite player. Just how quickly are you seeing him pick things up? I know he's just been here 2 months, it can be tough to come in the summer, but just how have you already seen him kind of learn a lot of the intricacies of this defense?
Oh, yeah, Aaron, he's a freak. He comes in every day and wants to learn. He look at my notebook, like what did you write down? What did you get from that? So I'll say that's what I like about Aaron, not just the physical part, but the mental part. I would say he wants to know what to do and in the most efficient way to do it. So I'll say that about him. He's ahead of his time for sure.
Well, Howard looks the part for sure. What's he bring?
Yes, like you say, he looks the part. He plays the part as well. He brings that juice, that energy, that communication that you need from a linebacker. And you know what you're going to get from him each and every day, consistency. He's going to run to the ball and knock it down. So I'll say that's what we get from Pup each and every day.
How hard of a hitter is he?
I've never been hit by him, but I mean, I've seen a couple running backs get up kind of slow in the scrimmage. So I think he hits pretty hard.
He graded out really well as a tackler last year in South Carolina. What do you feel like that part of his game?
Yes, we work tackling each and every day. We have our tackle circuits, and he looks up the part, like you guys may say, and we just work at it each and every day. And I see him as one of the sure tacklers on our team.
So Ron Roberts was really, when we spoke to him, he was very on point, explained things well, and didn't waste words. How has his communication kind of improved, like the operation?
Yes, sir. His knowledge of the game is outstanding. He comes in the linebacker room each and every day and just give us little nuggets on our footstep, little nuggets on how to get off blocks efficiently. So I'll say I appreciate Coach Roberts, and just his knowledge, giving that to us, is going to help us be better linebackers and better football players.
To be able to have a guy like Ron Roberts, right? You look at him and you look at his experience, all the different players that he's been around, all the different guys he's coached, and, this is his defense, right? This is the type of defense that he created and he's ran since day one. So I think it's a super cool mix to, have him, Coach Roberts, and Coach Armstrong's mixed together, right? We like to laugh and joke about it, the old and wise with like the young and so those two guys combined together do an amazing job with just having, the technique, the attention to detail, and then also on the other side, the physicality and just getting after it every day.
Armstrong, you used to be a linebackers coach. How much does that help you guys?
So that's also a cool part. If you see us in individual and stuff like that, and even in meetings, Coach Roberts and Coach Armstrong will be there with us. Working techniques, working all the different types of things, and they have so many different tips that you can just kind of put in your toolbox. So it's really a unique opportunity for us to have, both guys able to contribute to all of us as a whole.
Eric, what's a lot of changes this offseason, coaches, strength staff, all these things, well documented, 35 new players. What stands out to you the most that's changed here that is going to play a big role in this team kind of turning around?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing that stands out this year is the attention to detail, right? When you look at the past couple years, right, everyone's been asking each time that we had 30 different players leave. We had new coaches come in, and everyone was like, what's different this time? What's different this time? And, Coach Napier's done an amazing job with, putting the right people in the places for leadership roles, right? We have everyone in specific place to be able to bring those up around us, right? So we've done an amazing job with just, putting those pieces together. And I think, the attention to detail, doing things the right way is, the key aspect. Because when you look at, all the teams in the SEC, right, everyone runs pretty much the same defense. Everyone runs the same offense. It's just everyone's in fall camp. Everyone's doing the same things all day long. It goes down to, how well can you execute? How well can you do the little things the right way in order to be successful on Saturdays?
So Ron Roberts, we spoke with, and he seems like a guy who really kind of gets to the point quickly and communicates very well. What's he brought?
Yeah, so I think the coolest part that I love about Coach Roberts is, he understands that each player learns differently. And I think that's huge. When you have guys that come from all these different places, different transfers, guys that are coming at 18 years old, from different universities, different defensive schemes, it's good when you have a coach that can break it down in so many different ways so that it's understood. At the end of the day, you can't win with 10 guys doing the right thing the right way and one guy doing the wrong thing. So the whole idea is to get all 11 guys on the same page and doing things the right way. And I think that's what Coach Roberts has been able to do for us.
Competition with you and Shemar and Pup, how is that pushing you guys, and how is that making you guys better? And How's it going out there on the field?
Yeah, so when we look at our linebacker group, we have some dogs in our linebacker group, and I'm honestly super excited about it. As a defense as a whole, when you look at just, the lineup, right, you look at and you see depth. And I think that's the thing that we haven't seen in the past. So just being able to rotate guys and understanding that, having fresh legs in the game. And then that goes back to having a guy like Ron Roberts when we're making sure that all 11 on the field understand what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it to be able to make the good big-time plays in the big-time games.
Shemar went on to say something that should be probably talked about more, and that is the bond between the players, more specifically on the field. Goes pretty well with what Derek Wingo was saying about everybody being on the same page. Shemar James did go on to say, I'd say our bond not to only play fast, but not to let the guy next to me down. We talk about that every day, just playing for the guys next to me. If I mess up, I'm messing up the guy next to me. Like I said, there's 11 of us out there. If I don't do my job, then the rest of the 10 are affected. So I take a lot away from that because it has been that side of the ball where if one guy messes up, then it really has affected the others too much. Too many times I feel like players feel like they have to make a play for others, and not just totally worried about their assignment. I think they play hesitant and had to. I think too much, really too much, got to make up for the other guys. So I don't think there's been a whole lot of trust in each other in this defense in the last couple of years. Many explosives have come from that. All those explosives given up, I think that part plays a huge role in it. Players aren't going to make each and every play and need the guy next to them or behind them to help out. But that's another example of trust. But zooming back out, more guys just doing their job so it doesn't affect the others so much is going to be crucial in this defense. Pursuit. Put a lot of bodies around the ball or aspects I'm looking at. That's areas that I'm going to be looking at as well for this. You're not going to make each and every play. But if you have 11 guys pursuing the ball, if you don't make the tackle, there's going to be somebody else beside you to make the tackle. So there's different ways of looking at not letting the guy beside you down. You're not going to make every tackle. Now, we don't want to see a whole bunch of broken tackles like we saw last year. But at the same time, have a guy beside you. Have a guy behind you. That's going to help you make those plays. Shemar James, pretty much, pleased with what he sees from this Gator defense. It's talking season, but pleased where he sees it right now. How he's improved, working back from injury. He did go on to say, quote, I honestly think, and even I'm a better leader, more of a vocal leader, not just a leader that talks, but walks. I would say me and the rest of the linebackers, we've been working on a lot of block destruction, something that I feel I've improved on in this just offseason. And just running to the ball, overall effort, overall just bringing up the defense, everybody that's on our defense. I would say just being a better leader, a better tackler, and a better communicator. All the key words, all the key phrases we want to hear right now. Need more leadership, need to see better tackling, need to see better communication. So, look, to me, now some of it goes, I'll come back to the questions here in just a second. Hopefully I'm good now. Hopefully I'm good with all the bugs in the system. But I love the talent at linebacker. And the main question to me would be just how fast it would all come together. Shemar and Wingo bouncing back from injury. New faces getting up to speed like transfer Pup Howard, the freshman Miles Graham, who's bouncing back from an injury as well. Aaron Childs as well. The new faces, Howard, Graham, Childs. How fast would those guys come about in the defense? Previous players stepping up like Jaden Robinson and the position change for R.J. Moten. I do think this is a deep group. I think this is a talented group, especially because of the new faces and just how fast it would come together for them. The returns are good so far. Shemar's just fine bouncing back from injury. Pup Howard has stepped up right beside him, provides someone James can rely on. Howard has been a tackling machine in spring and fall camp. He is already seen as a reliable player through communication, leadership, and just doing his job at the position, the tackling, and in coverage. That's something else that should not be overlooked by Pup Howard right now is we actually saw it with our own eyes in the spring game, but it's been going on throughout fall camp as well that he excels in coverage too. So Howard already seems like an upgrade over Scooby Williams, who, look, he was just overall was a liability at the position. He did make some good plays. Don't get me wrong, but you can't be playing linebacker and miss team high 15 tackles. Finished last in the season on Pro Football Focus with a grade of 39.7. That was fourth lowest among the Florida defense. And look, we've discussed it before. That's a byproduct of just having to try guys and having to fit guys that aren't true linebackers in the linebacker room. That's hardly happening right now. You got more true linebackers, guys who have played linebacker in high school. Like I said, Derek Wingo's still there. He is at a position, but he's been there long enough now. Kind of like an Amari Burney in his final season. Finally took a while, but Amari Burney had a pretty good senior season in 2022. RJ Moten makes that. He's got a lot of experience. I don't know how much Florida will rely on him, but he's making that position change. But overall, you don't see it as much as you used to. Florida's got true linebackers in the spot, in the room. And I think perhaps the most welcoming news, the last couple of weeks of fall camp, Jaden Robinson. His second year, he's doing a lot of those same things as well as Pup Howard, making plays all over the field in practice and scrimmage. So we'll see if it translates to game time. But he saw action in 12 games last season, starting in that one game against Arkansas after Shemar James went down. Had 4 total tackles, 1 quarterback hurry on the season. That game versus Arkansas, he had 2 solo tackles. So he probably played well before he was supposed to, just because of the injuries and lack of depth at linebacker last year. But he does bring a sense of speed at that linebacker spot. So I certainly think deeper at the position for those young faces when we get to game time. How fast does it all come together? Now, you guys know I'm a huge Pup Howard fan. He's the recruit that hurt the most that we didn't get. You know, him and Cormani McClain were in the same class. Both were daggers to my chest that they weren't in that Gator class, and now they're both Gators. But you know, how fast does he come along? You know, played a little bit, got his feet wet at South Carolina last year. The returns have been great so far. Now we just got to see it on game day. Graham bouncing back from his back injury out of spring. Childs is, what they're calling a workout alien, a workout machine. Can he work his way onto the field? Hopefully, Jaden Robinson is taking that step in his second year. Derek Wingo, I hope he's healthy. Most of the reason of his struggles is Derek Wingo just can't stay healthy. Credit to him, he plays through it a whole lot. He's had to play through it. I hope he could put it together. I hope he can stay healthy to put it together. And we'll see what we get out of RJ Moten in that position change. But it is a deeper group. I think will eventually be a more talented group. Just how fast? How fast? There we go. All right. So I know there were a lot of comments about the bugs in the system here. So I gotta skip over those. I gotta find out where we left off. Muddy Waters Jez, love James, but man, Pup Howard is going to be top dog, I believe, when it's all said and done. Yeah, maybe not this year, but kind of going to your point when it's all said and done. Next year, year after that. But I'm not going to lie. I am biased. Got to know Pup a little bit, people close to Pup a bit. So I will fully admit, I am biased there. But man, certainly love having him on this Gators team. Michael Gomez says, I got James being all SEC at the end of the season. Man, I hope. I hope. Certainly, we haven't seen many Gator players all SEC at the end of the season in recent seasons. So that's what I want to see. We've had some preseason guys. We need to see some guys postseason that are all SEC. As a pretty good indicator of your talent level and your success. Austin Stoltz. I'm actually very excited about the linebacker room. I think Shemar and Pup would be our 2 guys. It's the best room has looked since early Mullen. With David Reese leading that linebacker group there in the early Mullen years. I think for as far as good as the talent can be, now I know he wasn't healthy a whole lot for Florida, but I think this taken into totality, a Jared Davis, Alex Anzalone room, that would kind of be my goal. Too bad we didn't get to see those two guys play together a whole lot, but that would be what I would want it to be. Let's see. I'll go through. I know there's some other questions. I'm going to try to stay at linebacker here before we move on to the other questions here. King Malik was saying, man, Wingo sounds like Christian Robinson. Yeah. Let's see. Robert Turner says, I love Wingo as a leader, but he has to make more plays as a linebacker, if you know what I mean. Like I said, he's just got to be healthy. Certainly. I would love to see it for Derek Wingo. Man, the man loves being a Gator. As I said, has given it his all, has played through injuries. He missed spring, of course. Went through some things, but young guys get the reps that should benefit. But certainly, I'm glad he's a Gator. They really the whole defense, the whole team looks up to a guy like Derek Wingo. I'm glad he's in that linebacker room since you have those young guys. You have those freshmen. You have the new faces. That is somebody I think, take production out of it. Somebody they can lean on to learn from. How to attack the game, how to approach the game. Derek Wingo's that guy. And I think you can just kind of hear it. He's really good on the microphone too, by the way. I know he talked about in that media press conference about him interning at the SEC Network. He kind of shadowed Chris Doering. I know he was on Paul Feinbaum, and he's probably got a future in some TV stuff. Have to get him on Gators Breakdown even more. Muddy Waters, most of these guys always bring up Coach Roberts, but never mention Armstrong anymore. Yeah, I think a lot of that's because Roberts is the new face in the room. So I think that's a huge part of it. We'll see. I mean, you heard it there. Derek Wingo did speak a whole lot about both of them. And then, okay, hit the part where I was dropping in and out here. Oh, there's a lot of comments. So excuse the silence for a second. King Malik, maybe we can go here. Let's see. Nobody's worried about the linebacker room. Trying to keep it PG. Offensive line. That's why we're here. I had seen other comments about the offensive line. Look, I know my comments on Twitter about a couple weeks ago now caused a storm, causing it. It was a concern of mine through the first couple of weeks of camp. Mainly that right side, mainly pass blocking. I think the run blocking's fine overall. I think Florida still, as I said, we're about a week and a half away. Don't know if they're settled on that right side. If I had to pick a starting group right now, left side, the center, pretty set in stone. Austin Barber, Najee Harris, Jake Slaughter. Game one, I'm going to put a think in all caps here. I still think Damian George at right guard. And I still think Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon at right tackle, but certainly some competition there. I don't know if those guys would be starting every game of the season. Napier even mentioned in his last press conference is just kind of shuffling pieces. They're still trying to figure it out. That they're going to go into the game with some different combinations as well. But Caden Jones there at right tackle. Cam Waits at right tackle, right guard. Roger Kearney, both guard spots. Center as well. But I think eventually we're at the point now, you got a Roger Kearney in a body transformation. Does he take over at some point? Is it a good sign if he takes over at some point? So still some questions there. Overall, I still think a better offensive line than last year. I truly believe that. But I know everybody's kind of over the schedule talk and just how hard the schedule is. But if the schedule does live up to its reputation, while the offensive line may be better, we have to ask ourselves the question, how much better do they have to be? Better may not be good enough. You may have to be a lot better You may have to be much better against some of those defenses you're going to face. I truly don't know. Part of the reason I think they'll be better, because it's going to be hard to be as bad as last year. And I know we've said that about the defense in the last few years, but for offensive line, I think you got enough returning pieces. You know, it's a group, not an entire 11 people. It's a group. Austin Barber's healthy. Najee Harris has got experience. Jake Slaughter is really good at center. He's got a full year of experience under him as well. George will be a better right guard than a right tackle. Now, will he be as good as Mazuka last year? That's not a high bar to pass. Then Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon's a ton of snaps. Will he be ready for SEC play? I still think that equals to be better than last year. All right, here we go. Robert Turner, can we show some love for Crawshaw, the best punter in the nation? There we go. We just did. So that's the thing about special teams. You notice it a whole lot more when things go wrong. But for Crawshaw at punter, we don't see a whole lot wrong with him. Yes, can boom some punts. You know, maybe this year help the defense out a bit more. Maybe we can get some more of those coffin corner punts. Have an offense start on their own 5-yard line, deep in their own territory. Yeah, maybe if we're looking for steps and we're looking for, here, what steps can a wide receiver make? What steps can a cornerback make? If we're going to go, hopefully, honestly, here's what I want to see. I don't want to see Crawshaw a whole lot, honestly. That means the offense is scoring points. So I don't want to see a whole lot of Crawshaw. But if we do see him, some coffin corner punts, pinning guys back. But, Robert, I see you say he will be a huge factor. I hope he's not. If you catch my drift. But certainly, if he is out there, I hope he's a factor. Okay, I'm going to go through. So please forgive. I got to kind of read at the same time. All right. Brian Korth, I watched some LSU one-on-one drills. I certainly pray our defense is better than that. I mean, LSU's another team. It's so weird. Florida, LSU, both programs thought to be DBU at one point. Neither one has put together great defenses in the last handful of years. Starting about 2020 for both programs, the defenses had just been not what you expect from a Florida team, from an LSU team. Now, they made some changes as well, bringing Missouri's defensive coordinator, Baker, over, trying to fix their defense. How much can he improve in year one? A lot of talent, of course, as there is at Florida. And that game is later in the season. Does LSU have all their kinks worked out on defense? All that talent they're replacing on offense? LSU's a hard team to figure out. I think a very manageable SEC schedule for them. But at the same time, they do got a lot of questions. Okay, let's see. Hey, everybody, about 200 people live in here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the hanging out through the hiccups and the short notice episode that we're going to go live and do some Q&A here. All right, Muddy getting a whole lot of playing time here. Dave, who are the leaders on this team? It seems like the last 4 years on defense, there has been no communication. Players look lost half the time. Are the players all on the same page? Well, Muddy, they're saying the right things. It's talking season. Through scrimmages, through fall camp, am hearing there is a lack of explosive plays given up, so that's a good sign. You hopefully think that means communication's better. Trust, as I go back to that word, trust is, I think, better. I've said it over and over again. It probably sounds like a broken record at this point, but there's so much more experience on that defensive side of the football for young guys getting time last year. It's got to pay off. I think somebody like Jordan Castell, already a leader in that safety room, but can now rely on Asa Turner. Shemar James is obviously a leader. Derek Wingo, obviously a leader. Cam Jackson up front. Joey Slackman, I think, stepped in and has a lot of leadership qualities about him. So at every level, I think you got some leaders. But as I said, it's all well and good now. It's all talk. What happens when you get punched in the mouth? It's not going to go good. I mean, the Miami game is going to be difficult. I honestly believe the game 1 is going to be difficult. There are going to be adversity in that game at some point. What does the defense do? Do they fold? Is it woe is me? Or do they come around and make some plays? There's going to be a time in that game where of course, you can't really forecast turnovers, can't forecast injury, anything like that. But the game plays out the way I think. There's going to be adversity. Offense and defense, the whole team. Explosives is going to be a big part of that. I don't want to see a replay of the Utah game last year, or first play of the game, 75-yard bomb, and it gets completed. Anything like that early on in the game. I just want to see a defense that has settled down. Now, the first drive, it's so weird. Both teams, every team out there in the country right now, you're working that first drive to death. I mean, this is the first drive you get to work on the most out of the whole season. You got a whole season, you got a whole fall camp. You got a week and a half here of working up to this game. So I've always said, and I stand by the mantra, I know some Gators Breakdown Plus listeners in here, and we talk on the Discord. I stand by my mantra. The game starts after the first drive for both teams. But at the same time, like the Arkansas game, it could doom you in. But like I said, Florida came back, tied that game, had a lead in that game at one point. So it won't completely doom you. But certainly, I think defense early on. I want to see him play well early on. I don't want the confidence shot early on in the season. So where we going to your point, the communication, players looking lost. Don't want to see any of that. You're at home. Miami is the team that should look lost, not you. And another thing about the communication, and Shemar James spoke about it in the thing too. He's more than likely going to be the guy on defense who has the in-helmet communication. The in-helmet communication is talked about a lot with the quarterback, but you get it on defense as well. So you play faster. The communication comes in. You get your keys. Your coaches are giving you what to look out for. That's certainly a bigger part of defense as well. Maybe the communication, maybe the players looking lost is fixed in that regard as well. I'm interested. What's going to be the chess game of the in-helmet communication between the offense and defense? That's certainly something new. And I'll talk about it next week in the Florida-Miami preview, but certainly in all over college football, in these big games, in these games that are close between the teams, if you're playing in a hostile environment like Miami is going to be next week, and this is your first game with that in-helmet communication, look, I'm sure they got the crowd noise and they're practicing all that right now. That's going to be different. It is going to be different on game day. How smooth is that operation going to be with all the new factors of in-helmet communication when there's 90,000 people in orange and blue screaming their heads off? So I think if you can take advantage early because of something like that, Florida, you need to go do it. It is a new element in this game of football that, hey, there may be some issues there. Maybe he can't really hear. Now, of course, everybody's practicing backup plans, and if you can't hear, what's the signal going to be? But at the same time, I think it does give the defense an advantage, a home team an advantage early in the season as this new element of college football comes into play. Okay, let me go through some more comments before we wrap up here. Robert M., I'm cautiously optimistic about this season. Yeah, we have a gauntlet of a schedule, but if we can clean up the most obvious gaffes of the last two seasons, we'll be competitive in every game. That's how I see it too. Year 3, this roster's built in your image, Billy Napier. This is your team. There's no more blaming the last guy. As you said, we know the schedule's hard. And I stand by what I've said all offseason. If this thing is headed in the right direction, the win should follow. I'm not saying Florida needs to go win an SEC championship. I'm not saying they have to go to Atlanta. But we certainly should see improvement. Improvement will mean wins. It is time for improvement to mean wins. 6-6, that doesn't do much for me. 7-5 with this schedule. I know some of you will feel better about that. I still got a ton of questions. I'd still be in limbo. Anything above 7, I think you could start feeling pretty good about. 8 wins in year 3 overall, maybe not good enough. But for where this team is, where the roster is, where the schedule is, you can sell 8 wins a whole lot. Anything better than that, I think it's an excellent job. But it's time. I don't care how hard the schedule is. You've got to win some games. But I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic as well. I like the talent on this team. It's more about the coaching for me. I think there is talent for 7-8 wins. Can the coaching staff get them there? Bull Gator to the point there. Yep, they are saying all the right things. Now let's see if it finally translates to on-the-field performance. Yep, I mean, when it is talking season for a reason. All right, I think I've mostly caught up. I'll go scroll down to the bottom again. If I missed it, I'm sorry. I think the going in and out kind of messed with me a little bit, but let's see. Smokey Gator says, year 3, why not an SEC championship? Look, yes, that. Put it this way. When Billy Napier was hired, I certainly thought we'd be competing for an SEC championship by now, or that should be the expectation going back to that point. I think the way it's played out is not the expectation, and that certainly plays into how many feel about Billy Napier. Don't get me wrong. It should be the expectation. I can't realistically say in year 3 it is the expectation where this team is right now. But I got to see some wins. It doesn't have to be SEC championship, but certainly got to see some wins. Okay. Think we're about good. Thanks for everybody. One more time, hopping in here. Big week next week, of course. Florida, Miami, game 1. Will Miles and I, Monday night. I've been asked, everybody who's reached out on Twitter, DM, on Discord, I've been reached out to. Dave, hey, when's the over-under episode? It'll be Monday night. Will Miles would join me as he does every season. A lot of the offseason as well. But he was busy this offseason. Kids playing baseball. I was busy as well, vacationing and going places and all that stuff. But next week, we are back to regularly scheduled Gators Breakdown during the season. Will Miles will be on Monday night. We'll kind of do our season predictions, our over-unders, our superlatives. I know everybody likes that episode. Like I said, I've been reached out to. Hey, when's that episode? It will be Monday night. We always have fun with those over-under episodes. So I'm looking forward to it. Then, of course, the Miami preview. Announced on Twitter today, Alex Shepard will be shooting some photos for me. Every home game, Florida, Georgia game as well. I will have a little segment with him every week as well. So he's on the sideline for those Gator games. Huge Gator fan. He'll be, like I said, photographer for Gators Breakdown this football season. So we'll have some nice, unique photos to kind of take a look at this season. All right, here we go. Well, a couple more questions, and then I'll go. 5 Adams says, do you think DJ Lagway should play and take over at quarterback? I think run pass option could lead 10 wins and make playoffs. No, he should not take over. He should play, yes. Absolutely, he should play. Take over? I mean, I don't think he's ready to take over right now. If he was to play game 1, Florida's not winning 10 games. That's just not. He's not that ready. He had a pretty rough scrimmage Saturday. He's not fully ready. Now, don't get me wrong. Coaching staff's throwing everything they can at him. You know, that's how you learn. It's how you grow. But no, he's not ready to lead this team to 10 wins with this schedule right now. And that's not a shot at him. Any freshman quarterback right now, I'll be saying the same thing about. So I don't think Tim Tebow comes in 2006 as a true freshman and leads Florida to a national championship, 10 wins, as special as he was. So this is not a shot at DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway is going to do big things at Florida. He's going to do big things as a college football quarterback. This won't be this year game in, game out, drive in, drive out, play in, play out. He's going to have some big plays. He's too talented not to. He's going to have some impact plays. He's going to have a role on this team. He just won't be starting quarterback. ... right away. Now, if the season falls apart, what do? Do you turn the page? You got those last crazy 5 games of the season. Do you throw him in that fire against Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State? You know, a lot of the fan base will be calling for it if the season goes that way. I certainly think you can come up with some packages for him, some plays for him, but not the guy to lead Florida to 10 wins right now, in my opinion. Okay. All right, there we go. I think I'm caught up. Everybody, thank you so much. If I stay here, the questions might keep coming in. We'll never get off. But went about an hour here, couple of hiccups. Thanks for hanging through there. But certainly ready for the season. Ready for the season next week. We'll be back. Over-unders, Florida versus Miami. That preview. Back to game week next week. That'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Hit that like button one more time, and that'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown.